The creation of Deliberately AI stems from my own personal experience. As everyone knows, I've gone through a divorce myself now about 8 years ago, and from my point of view as a technology person, as a product person, it was shocking that so many of the workflows in that process don't use technology. They're very inefficient, and for that reason, it adds extra stress on top of an already stressful process. So I've been thinking about this for many years. It was really only the advent of AI over the last 2 or 3 years that I started to see a real opportunity to go in and streamline the collaboration that happens between legal clients and family law attorneys. And as far as I know, this is the world's first and only legal tech company that has originated out of the client experience.
For me, not really working with the legal industry directly, it's just what people say that I talk to, right? And what the people who've had to deal with lawyers through a divorce or another kind of event say about how painful it is, how inefficient, and with the technology that's available today, it seems like that's a place where we could really make a difference in helping people to have a better experience with their attorneys. And as we've gone through this journey and talking to a lot of attorneys, it turns out the attorneys are kind of having a tough time too, and there's a lot of opportunity to help on both sides of that relationship, to help both of those important parties to this task that needs to get done, get through it faster and better. And so that's why we founded Deliberately AI.
What's important to note is that in personal law, each case is a fresh start. The attorney is engaging with a client for the first time, and to do that well, you need to convey the client's entire history of information. Bank accounts, assets, income, debts, family information. It's a tremendous amount of information. Many marriages have been going for many years, and so it's the collection of, in some cases, decades worth of information that need to be conveyed to the attorney. And that, for me, was a huge consumer of time and energy. And oftentimes, my head really wasn't in that space at all. My head was really trying to focus on family, going through a breakup, which is emotionally hard, and then being tasked with essentially another full-time job on top of my existing career, and trying to juggle all of that.
The attorneys, in order to get all this information, are playing this sort of logistics checklist game of making sure that this client has sent this document and that client forgot, and this other client is further along in the stage, and what's the next thing that needs to happen there. And so this ability to sort of keep the process moving, keep the workflow moving without the attorney needing to babysit the process is a really helpful time saver for the attorneys. And then going forward, they need to be able to use that information, right? They're getting hundreds of documents from maybe 50 different clients that they're working with, and the ability to find out a particular answer to a particular problem related to a client of a document they maybe just sent you yesterday is really challenging, and something that we have been able to deliver to attorneys. So we can both autonomously gather that information from the clients on behalf of the attorneys, and then also mine that data for the answers to the particular questions the attorney needs the answer to right now. We not only provide that capability to the attorneys, but we also provide a lot of that capability to the clients to sort of run their own process and be in charge of their information, their process, and have that sort of agency.
Yeah, that's right. Imagine I hand Riley 1,000 pages of documents. Riley has a question. It's a research project to answer that question. He's got to read through hundreds of pages in order to find it. And in many cases, the reality is it's just impossible to find the information. And the attorneys aren't able to make the best use of all the information they have. And that's really the magic of what we do. The machine can read it in a second, and it can answer any question from any page in that 1,000-page document like that.
There are a lot of questions that attorneys need to answer once or several times per client, that everybody has the same questions about what's the next step in the process, about what is this going to look like, about why do I need to provide this document, what is it going to be used for, that the attorney's constantly responding in emails and constantly responding maybe a day or two after they got the email, whereas deliberately AI's AI agent communicates with the client to answer all those questions in the process of helping them get through whatever step of the process they're in. So by handling a lot of those concerns ahead of time, Dell really makes sure that clients are supported in exactly the moment they need it, and also taking that load off of the attorney to leave the attorney available to do the really important work of legal strategy, of verifying the filings are correct, and those sorts of things.
Yeah. I'd say another part of the root problem is that there are many channels of communication. There's email, there's meetings, there's files that are being sent via file sharing services. And those sources of information are all over, and it leaves the attorney with a real scattered mess of facts. And they often don't even know what they have. And I remember in my case, the attorney asking for the same exact information 2-3 times. And as a client who's sort of putting their faith in this attorney, it undermines your trust in them when they start asking questions that you've already answered. So by sitting in the middle of all of those sources and aggregating all of that information into a common source of truth for the attorney, they just have a much better sense of what they have and what they need. And that makes them feel like they know what's going on for their client. Yeah, it builds trust. It's a better experience. Our system is built on the facts and information related to a specific client. And when you look at legal tech, especially AI-powered legal tech, typically companies are focusing on the law. By focusing in on client information and facts, first of all, the information set is much smaller, it's much more self-contained, and it's easier for AI to produce really good, accurate results. When we speak with attorneys and law firms, they tell us that they are often afraid that their humans will make mistakes. They have paralegals, and those paralegals do make mistakes. They miss things, misread things, they quote the wrong information, and there's no way of knowing when a paralegal has made a mistake. You just trust that they've given you the right answer. The nice thing about a system like ours is that not only do we give you the answer, but we give you citations. We link directly to the source. This is typically the information the client has provided. So we can jump to a specific document, we can highlight a paragraph where the client answered this question, and it really builds trust with the attorney over time as they see that, oh, we just find the right answer.
Yeah, I think it's important, any human and any computer can make mistakes. But one thing that deliberately AI focuses on doing is providing the source data whenever we are performing a task for an attorney. So if we're answering a question, we're always providing, and here's the exact line of text where the answer came from. And that's a link back to an individual document that a client gave or an individual conversation that the client had with the AI system. And that means that even when there's a mistake, it's obvious that there's a mistake. Today, attorneys send emails asking questions to a paralegal or to a client, and they get a response, and it's an answer, and they got to go with it. And sometimes it's wrong, sometimes it's right, and they're kind of stuck without the backup data. So by always providing that evidence package, we really build confidence in the attorney that they're making the right decisions and they're doing the right things. From a client perspective, there's nothing worse than an attorney messing up one of the key facts of your life in a conversation that you're having with them. And one of the things that our system does is make sure that attorneys are always have those sort of key facts and figures at their fingertips, preparing them to go into a meeting with a client, preparing them to go into a court hearing with the information that they need to get the right answers and the right results for this client.
Today, we're highly focused on family law for a number of reasons. We think that it has a huge human impact, and we also think that it's an area of personal law that really has been underserved by technology historically. And in many cases, there really is no technology other than maybe basic case management tools. We're planning to support family law, but we're building our platform in a way that isn't specific to family law. The problems that we're solving around collection, management, and use of client information, it applies in all of personal law. So you can imagine immigration law, estate law, personal injury, collection of personal injury case information, employment law, tax law. Each of those represents an entire industry that's just as important as family law. And over time, we will branch out into those and build custom features on top of our core platform that serve those industries as well.
We are building electronic health records for law, and we are going to put together a portable picture of each person's legal life that is built autonomously and that they can take with them from issue to issue to issue, right? If you're buying a house and you need to do a real estate deal, if you are moving to the United States and you need to go through immigration, if you are getting a divorce, if you're doing an estate plan, each of these really important life events requires you to go through this really long and onerous information gathering and question answering process. And we believe that we are building a system that will travel with you to all of these places and keep up to date in the future, so that as a client, you can get the answers to your questions and your problems solved quickly and easily, no matter what kind of legal issue it is that you're dealing with.
After you finish a divorce, one of the first things that you often do is now rebuild your estate plan. And for a system to be able to have all of your information and carry it from your family law attorney directly to your estate attorney, it's a huge value for the end client. Another case, sometimes people decide that they want to change law firms, and having portability of your information from one law firm to another is a huge value to the client, rather than starting over and having to go through the entire process again with a new law firm.
And we're building an industry of legal professionals who are future thinking, who are progressive, and who are focused on their clients having a great experience, who are users of the Deliberately platform. And clients know that when they come to a lawyer that's using our system, that all their data is going to be available from day one, that everything's going to be accurate, and that they'll have support 24/7 even when their attorney isn't working. And from the attorney's perspective, they'll know they're giving better customer service, getting better outcomes, and not making as many mistakes.